So I think the other big role other than advisor is translator. If I'm going to talk about the command team and the role of that enlisted leader, it is translator. I translate officer speak to enlisted speak. And it's different. You know, I will never forget early on when I was exposed to my first staff meetings and I heard, you know, all right, so what's the vector on that? And because I'm not sure the sight picture is exactly right. And we got to monitor the demand signal here. You know, and by the time I'm like writing words down, like, what the hell does that mean? So over time, I really get immersed in that and I understand what it means. And more importantly, I understand what that means to our frontline junior airmen. And I speak junior airmen, which I won't speak here today. You might not be able to handle it. But I speak junior airmen, and I can talk about what your vision as the commander is in a way that's meaningful to that junior airman. And likewise, when that junior airman's talking to me and talking about issues, I can carry that mail to you, the commander, in a way that's meaningful, that's actionable. And I can filter some of that whine part of it, right? Because there's always a whine part of it. You know, the most important is a good senior NCO is going to translate not just the message, but the context. So I might hear, hey boss, I'm hearing that there's some people complaining, some young airmen complaining about the way that, you know, decorations are going. They're not happy with the way that we're doing decorations. That in itself would be pretty short-sighted feedback. If I extend that and say, I really think this is a communication problem because I believe that we're doing the right thing that is consistent with what I've seen in other places in my career. You know, decorations are not an automatic thing. It should be okay to turn down a decoration from time to time. Put that message, put that feedback in context. Now the boss knows I don't have a decoration problem, I have a communication problem. I have an expectation management problem. All right, so that's what a good translator will do. And finally, the scope of a senior enlisted person. The senior enlisted leader, occasionally I'll see this accident, this mistake, that the commander thinks that they are a glorified first sergeant. And that absolutely is no discredit to first sergeants. We'll talk about first sergeants in a minute. But a senior enlisted leader is both the people and the mission piece. All right? It's no accident that I am here speaking to you, a room full of officers, and I am an enlisted person. All right? I do not spend every day over at the barn sitter for enlisted development. I spend a lot of days over there, but as the command chief for Air University, it's Air University that I support, not just the enlisted men and women of that organization. So, and don't forget that. You know, even if for nothing else, that's somebody that chief or that senior enlisted leader has been exposed to all those staff meetings, all those slides, right? All the maintenance updates or whatever it is, and may just have a different, they're looking at things a little differently than you did, and so they're going to provide a different perspective. So they are concerned with people and mission. Now, the first sergeant, I do want to foot stomp that. That is not really part of my focus today, but it is an important thing as you gear up to be a future commander, that you understand what first sergeants bring to the table as well. You know, it's interesting, it changes a little bit. At the squadron level, truly, the perfect command team is the commander, the superintendent, and the first sergeant. And then obviously you bring in your second, whether that's a DO or a deputy or however you define that in your organization. And those folks really run together, you run that organization. And then the next broadening of that is bringing in all your flight leadership. Right? So the way that they work together is important. And you got to remember when you talk about that senior enlisted leader, you already have a first sergeant. So that kind of, again, when you're thinking about what roles do you assign, they're going to be a little different than what that first sergeant's doing. And then the last point here on this slide is that the power and authority that that person gets is completely dependent on you. Right? Just because I'm walking around with chief stripes is interesting, but in a sense unimportant. If I don't have the empowerment from the commander, and people know that I have the empowerment from the commander to act on his or her behalf. So early on in that relationship, and this is all about relationships, early on in that relationship, you need to establish that in front of the next level of leadership in your organization. This is my superintendent, and I have empowered this person. They'll be out in your areas. Get used to it. It's what we do. They represent me. Because what you'll find, I'll take it up at the wing level, you know, a great wing leader team is the wing commander, the vice commander, and the command chief. And that vice and that command chief are everything because they filter things for that commander. All those group commanders are going to bounce their stuff off of either or both of those two perspectives so that they're not bothering the boss, but also they know that those two people understand the boss's direction and vision better than anybody else.